recognized for 5 minutes.
Mahalo, Mr. Chairman. Aloha, Secretary Austin, Chairman Milley, General McKenzie. Mahalo for your testimony and taking the time to be here today. As someone who has also worn a uniform, still wears a uniform, I'm very appreciative of your service. And having first deployed to Operation Enduring Freedom in 2005, I am glad that U.S. involvement in the war is over, and I support the President's decision. However, I'm concerned that the accelerated withdrawal, the strategic failure and fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban has damaged U.S. credibility with our allies and partners. As a former C-17 mission commander, I will never forget those images that I saw early in the morning of 15 August from Kabul, where total chaos at HKIA and Afghans falling out of the sky, desperate to flee the country. So I think my testimony, my question was focused on Secretary Austin's testimony, and it's really on the NEO operation that my colleagues, Rep. Crow and had referred to. And so, Secretary Austin, in your testimony, you stated that military planners had crafted a number of evacuation scenarios. In mid-May, you had ordered CENTCOM to make preparations for a potential NEO, and that on the 10th of August, there was another NEO tabletop. When did the State Department actually call for the NEO?
I believe it was on the 14th, Congressman.
Okay.
14th of August.
On the 14th of August, the State Department called for the NEO. So you stated in your testimony that the NEO remains among the most challenging military operations, even in the best of circumstances. And the circumstances in August were anything but ideal. Extreme heat, a landlocked country, no government, a highly dynamic situation on the ground, and an active, credible, and lethal terrorist threat. And that also in your testimony that you had offered input to the State Department that although mindful of their concerns that moving too soon would actually cause the very collapse of the Afghan government that we all wanted to avoid, but that moving too late would put our people and our operations at greater risk. And so what I'm trying to figure out is, you know, despite the President's decision to order the withdrawal on April 14th and that the troop presence will go to zero, on May 1st the withdrawal began. You know, by May and June of 2021, the Taliban had captured a quarter of the country. Representative Crow identified on June 11th, there was a NEO tabletop that was done. On August 6th, the Taliban captured the first capital. On August 10th, we did a tabletop. Why were we doing a tabletop on August 10th when the Taliban was rapidly advancing to Kabul? On August 14th, Jalalabad and Mazar Sharif fell, and by August 15th, the Taliban had entered Kabul. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, Secretary Austin, is why did we wait? I know we had to wait for the State Department to call for the NEO, but why did we wait so long to do that? Even though we had pre-positioned forces, as you had mentioned, in Afghanistan, we had the 24th MU there, 82nd Airborne was coming in, but the airfield was still in total chaos on August 15th.
Yeah, so I think what changed the equation here, we anticipated that just based upon a disposition of forces that were kind of centered around the population centers, that the Afghans would, in fact, put up, you know, more significant resistance. And so we anticipated that that fighting would be a bit more intense. As they approached Ghazni, we didn't see the fight that we thought we'd see, and that was a trigger for us to begin to move some things very quickly. And then even as they moved north of Ghazni, we expected that as they approached Kabul, that, again, those forces that were there would fight more. And there was a government in place still at the time. But with the government collapsing and leaving, and that precipitated the evaporation of the security forces, and that really panicked the people. And so what you saw on that first day was a result of that panic.
Should the NEO operation have commenced sooner than April 14th?
I certainly think it could have. Yeah, again, we had the elements to begin to operate a bit sooner. But again, that's a State Department call, and
totally understand.
We provide our input, and it's based upon a lot of things. And this is not throwing my State Department colleagues under the bus. It's a very dynamic and challenging situation.
General McKenzie, you stated that primarily our NEO planning included AMSITs and embassy personnel. When did the NEO planning begin to include Afghans and civs?
Late in the spring, early in the summer.
All right,
we began to broaden that
Thank
plan.
you for your questions.
Thank you. Mr.